The coding for this application really is remarkably simple. We are utilizing the slider control, and when you move the slider, it's going to return or give you a value. What you do with that value is totally up to you. You can print it out into a text field, or you can utilize it as a control for something else, a variable. You can adjust variables. You can do anything with that number essentially that you see fit for your application. What we're going to do is utilize the timer once again, and we're going to set the timer, as I showed you in the build, to multiple and 50 for our time period, which means 20 times a second this timer is doing what we ask. So the function of the timer is going to be to take the value that is returned from the slider, print it into the box so we can see it, and then utilize it as part of the color RGB value for our circle and change that color 20 times a second. So what we're going to see is when we moved the slider, the color was changing almost instantly. So let's take a look at that code. So the first three lines here take the value from the slider, which is simply defined as the name of the slider dot value. We take that value, we convert it into a string so that we can put it into a text field, and I simply print it into the corresponding text field beside each slider. And remember, we have those named RNM, GNM, and BNM for the red, green, blue values. I have my sliders named appropriately: red slider, green slider, blue slider. So that section takes the slider values and prints it into the text boxes. So what we have down here now is we have the name of the property we're going to change the color of, and that would be oval 1. And the property we want to change is the fill color property. So we say oval1.fillColor equals, and then we have to state that we're using the RGB values, and then we have a bracket, and inside that bracket we simply have three numbers, and those numbers are the red slider value, which will be between 1 and 255. We have the green slider value, which again will be between 1 and 255, and then we have the blue slider value, which again is between 1 and 255. So this is all happening 20 times a second. So as we run through the application, which you've seen, you move the slider controls and instantly you have your feedback in your text boxes and you have the color changing in the oval. There you go. Now there is an easier option for this. When I say easier, it's just a little simpler. We've utilized the timer here to do this all for us automatically, but what we could have done is go into each one of the sliders. And in there I also have code that says I'm going to take the slider value, change it into a string, and save it into the red number text box. And if I do it in this way, let me run this application and show you. I've remarked it from the timer, and I've left it in the actual slider itself. So when I run the application, you'll see the difference in these two setups. So I left the first two the way they were. So I remarked all of them, so none of them are going to work here. But this one, when I move and release, that's when you'll actually see it run that code. So the value that's returned from the slider gets returned when you release and actually set a state value. All right, there you go. Do your best to make your own color picker, and good luck. Have fun.